Hello, humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. There's something to be said for real actors working on video games. I think the characters in Death Stranding 2 are well developed, the writing is good, and here we see a representation of women, of, you know, beautiful women that in a lot of cases do the whole girl boss thing done right because their beauty and grace is their strength, right? There's nothing here where, they're overpowering 300-pound men or anything like that. They all have their own special abilities. But however, what really makes you connect with these characters are the personal struggles they're going through. Characters that you can identify with. It's not the same old slop that's being put out generically by a lot of these game engines that have been influenced by these corporations who are pursuing these DEI grants where, they even make the game engines so women have to have a square jaw, make androgynous looking characters because that's what they're after, a particular point of view. And you and I know that life is not that way. Now, for heterosexual men, which is at this point more than 80% of the game industry, and I would say way more, especially specifically when it comes to game consoles, this is the type of portrayal of women that, most identify with, right? Where you have women that you know, you would see every day women that are considered sex symbols as celebrities, as actresses in their own right, right? That's why, they are popular. Yeah, they're pleasant to look at, but that doesn't take away from their acting, right? The reason you connect with these women is not because they're pretty, it's because they have well written characters out and they have storylines that people can identify with. Now, don't get me wrong. If you like bald chicks with, armpit hair, hey, you do you, right? But for the majority of us, we like traditional looking women, right? That's what we're into. You may like the blonde, you may like brunette, whatever you're into, you do you. That's fine. There's plenty of choices out there. If you're into other types of looks, genders, whatever, there's plenty to choose from. But rarely nowadays do we come across well written characters like this for traditional females, if you will. And Hideo Kojima is getting criticized for not knowing how to write women by the game journalists, of course, who are more political than anything else. And I think it's such a travesty nowadays to judge every game politically. Game, is it fun? Did it entertain you? I mean, can we start with that? Not whether we have enough of every race represented in the game. Is this game diverse? Yeah, but it's never going to be diverse enough for these people ever. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter how many races there is. There's something that you always miss, right? It's never good enough for these people. And I think this game stands on its own. And I think the game sales will represent so. There's very few games nowadays that people will go out and pay full price for. Whether it's $70, $100 for the special edition, whatever it is. There's very few, right? In today's market, that would make sense for you to buy day one every single game and pay full price. It's just not that kind of market anymore. Hideo Kojima's games fall under that category, though, that where you do want to embrace them day one because you know that you're going to get enough gameplay out of them to uh, justify the value that you're paying for the game. Whatever price they're asking for. And number one, number two, they are that good. And I played Kojima games not because they are perfect. I play Kojima games because they take a chance. Now, him being a devout student of film, he pays a lot of tribute in different ways to films, and he tries. That's the reason why he incorporates actors and writers and all that to his to his games. And I wish more game studios would do this. It's no longer profitable as much as they would like to, though. They're all going to cell phone games, and that's where the money's at, microtransactions and all that stuff. But let me tell you, just as a traditional male with traditional values, I do appreciate traditional females being portrayed in a setting where you can see their struggles, where you can see them suffer, where you can see them overcome adversity. And like I said, there's different strokes for the different folks. Some people might not find these women at all attractive. They're they're into different type of things, but I think for many of us, we appreciate in this world where there's so many games where you have forced diversity plugged into them. Just have actresses that are good at their craft, right? That are beautiful because uh, the public in general has decided so by judging their work, right? By embracing the type of work that they do in their films and whatever projects they have going on, to put them in a game, to put them with good writing, right? To put them where their acting skills are actually showing. And that's something that these games are breaking sort of the mold and actually showing how deep in range you can get as an actor, with emotions, and how the technology is getting better every day. And that's the one good thing that Death Stranding does, is lets you connect to these characters. But I think for a lot of us, right, specifically heterosexual men, we appreciate the way women are being portrayed in this particular game, where we can see that their beauty is their strength, right? Their fragility, right, is part of their character, and one of the things that attaches those characters to us and makes them follow us. Whether it's Rainey being pregnant, being alone in the world, being shunned by everybody. Whether it's Tomorrow, and not knowing her place in the world, as a young woman trying to find herself, and you have Fragile, a woman that has seen the troubles of war and feels responsible for certain things that she's done in the past, and all those struggles are well represented within this game. And like I said, I'm having a blast, guys. I am having a blast playing this game. I'm having a blast with the characters. The guitar scene, this fight guitar scene, man. Let me tell you, it really set the game apart, and it's really something you haven't seen in video games before. And I think it bodes well. Will there be a Death Stranding 3? Well, I hope so. I don't know what characters are going to move on. I'm not going to spoil anything for you. But I think that Kojima has a bright future ahead. How long will he keep this up? I don't know. But I do hope that a lot of developers and game creators out there take a page out of him and not be scared to express whatever ideas you have, whether they're different, whether they're traditional, whether you're exploring different themes. But I hope most of all that they keep on using human actors, not just to depend on AI, but actually get actors to play these roles, because I think that develops a stronger connection with the audience. All right, humans, I'll be playing some more Death Stranding. That's all I'll be doing. Tell me what you think. Have you played the game? If you haven't, hey, wait for a sale, whatever. But I'm going to tell you, it's an acquired taste. But if you do get into the first one, where you can buy it fairly cheaply, you are most definitely going to enjoy the second one. And I'm telling you, this action scene with a guitar and the samurai, man, the things you could do with that. I can't wait for the day where we could actually play the scene for real. All right, humans, I will catch you on the next one. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Make sure to hit that like button on the way out for me. And if you haven't done so, make sure you're subscribed. Take care.